Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
Most people might think video games as a life-sucking, demonizing character going after their children, teaching them violence, sexism, and racism. You fear that your child will be the next story of how someone shot up an entire school and learned and practiced their aim from video games. Or perhaps you simply want to protect them from the profanity of toxic gamers, scared they might become one of them. After all, the media said that there is a risk, and the APA said that there is a link between violence and video game violence. So video games must have a negative influence. Well, the media has said a lot of things, and there's an open letter signed by over 200 media scholars, psychologists, criminologists against the APA's findings about video game violence. And I hope that as you watch this video, you'll see that video games provide more good than actual harm. Single-player games, for example, provide not just story, but lessons to teach to everyone. Every campaign has something to teach you, linear, sandbox, and everything in between. The story in a single-player campaign is like that of a book. It takes people to another world away from this one. From the streets of City 17 or the poverty-stricken streets of southern Los Santos, every story tells a struggle and a hero to combat them. Sometimes the story decides for you, but you still get to experience it. For example, Minecraft teaches you resource management and is a way of expression the same way art can be. Even games like GTA and Crash Bandicoot can teach perseverance to get you through the next level or mission. Even multiplayer games can be more beneficial than single-player games. However, if you don't want your child to turn into an unsociable person that resents any form of backlash with profanity, then it will first require your child to become a good human being, and to be raised properly. But the benefits of multiplayer do exceed that of single-player. Of course, there are some things in single-player that just cannot be learned through multiplayer, but it is more beneficial than single-player in the same way it is better to have a book club rather than to read alone. Team-based games, for example, obviously teach you teamwork, but they also teach you how to think on your feet and how to maintain your calm during stressful situations rather than just burying them under the rug. I've spent most of my childhood playing and enjoying games such as Crash Bandicoot, Harvest Moon, GTA, Minecraft, and Counter-Strike. To someone else's eyes, these games have nothing in common. To me, however, they all have taught me valuable lessons that I can never forget for the rest of my life. Crash Bandicoot and GTA taught me perseverance, and to keep trying when things get down to the wire. Minecraft and Harvest Moon have taught me resource management and patience, while Counter-Strike, or more recently, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, has taught me teamwork, more than any other school project combined, and that the more time you spend on something, the better you become. Following this, I have noticed others follow my footsteps. My cousin, who is 6 at the time of this recording, began his journey in the old age game of Minecraft at the age of 3. Being a sandbox game, it was easy for him to play since he couldn't technically lose. His motor skills wasn't yet refined, and he struggled with using 2 hands to control the player. For a time, he could only fly around and look at the different animals. Eventually, he grew fond of shooting them down. The great thing with Minecraft was that we could join his world and guide him through the basic gameplay mechanics and building styles. It was amazing to see him grow as a person and as a player. As his buildings got more refined and he started to not only learn to emulate what we were doing, but exploring his own creative ideas, which I gotta say was pretty impressive for his age. This was all done on the phone. Once he started showing interest in playing on the PC, we introduced him to a variety of games with different levels of success. It started with online games and moved on to games on my Steam library. I began to introduce him to CSGO, a game which I was, and still am, fully immersed in. Starting with harmless bots to get him used to the mechanics of the game, Counter-Strike didn't entice him as much as we thought it would. We noticed that he didn't like linear gameplay, preferring open-world sandboxes where he could do anything he wants without rules or restrictions. Enter GTA. Wait. Before I hear any judgment, we were fully aware of the risks and took precautions to make it as kid-friendly as possible. We were not concerned about violence. We knew that he knew not to harm and hit people in real life. What we were concerned about was the swearing. So, we muted the game and turned off captions. Moving on, as we let him play, under supervision, don't worry, we noticed that in the beginning he was still not used to the WASD controls. Partly because he still struggled with his letters, and he got used to it eventually as we saw him no longer needing to look down at his keyboard every time he wanted to move. We are very proud to see him progress in-game and watch as traits he possesses bleed into his gameplay, and likewise things he learned in-game he started to implement outside the game. We saw firsthand how games can be more beneficial than harmful. However, this requires parents and supervisors to be actively engaged in the experience and not just bystanders, or even worse, completely oblivious to whatever kids are doing. It can be a very wholesome bonding experience for everyone involved, and it can help bridge the generation gap. Being involved doesn't always mean you have to play the game yourself. Sometimes it only takes your willingness to listen and understand.
Dr. Freeman, I presume.